My name is Mick Hutson. I'm a photographer, and I've been working now for 25 years, which is why I'm doing this 25-year exhibition here. But I also have another exhibition which is my kind of reportage stuff, which is mainly I go into conflict areas, or post-conflict areas really, and I do a completely different style of photography where I try to capture the people and the results of conflict.
Okay. What magazines do you work for?
Every single magazine, hip-hop. Mainly because I have commissions with different magazines, but at the same time as that, my photography and my pictures and my images from different shoots are then reused by other magazines through an agency. So in the last 25 years, whatever, I've been in every single magazine in the world and every newspaper. So.
What was your most recent publication?
The most recent publication was, well, the one I will talk about, it was Metal Hammer, which was a shoot that I did. There's a picture up there. It was quite a fun one. It was, we had hired the A-Team van, and we had loads of smoke bombs and an M16 and a Kalashnikov, and it all worked out really well. It was all style photography, no Photoshop at all. It was all shot in camera, and that's how it should be really.
Fantastic. What would you say the difference between a good photo and a great photo was?
The difference between a great photograph and an ordinary photograph is a photograph is given to you, it's not taken.
Okay. What would you say your biggest turning point in your career was?
The biggest turning point was two turning points. One was once I left college, I started working for an agency, and I worked for them for about a couple of years, and it was great actually. It was almost like doing an apprenticeship. I'd already done a degree in photography and film, but really it didn't, and I have to say this, it didn't count for anything at all, because as soon as you're actually put in a position where you don't have a week to turn your brief in, you have 30 minutes to do the pictures in a place that you didn't expect it to happen in, and then you have to have it in for the next day. It kind of throws everything you've done at college out the window. So my biggest break was probably after I left college. I started with a really great photographer called David Redford, who was a brilliant old jazz photographer, but also did Pirelli calendars, and he did some amazing 60s and 70s photography, which is really iconic. I started working with him, not as his assistant or anything, because I've never assisted anyone, but as kind of a staff photographer in his business. And I learned a lot, a huge amount within the couple of years I was with him. The next break was really leaving David's, because I wanted to do it myself, completely on my own, because I was stupid and thought that, I was still in the period of time I thought I knew everything. But I got a big break, which was two-part. Within the first week I left, I was doing rubbishy little jobs, and I was at a gig, and you always listen when you're at gigs, don't just look, and listen to what's going on. And I heard one of the security saying that every photographer had to leave after 3 minutes to make sure they're out of the building, which kind of told me that there was something really good going to happen after the first 3 songs. So as we walked into the pit, I didn't go in the pit, I diverted into the crowd and decided to shoot it from the crowd. And sure enough, after 4 songs, it was Grace Jones. She did a fake rape scene on stage with these 2 guys, which I didn't want to be filmed. It was part of the show, but I shot it, and it went, got home, processed it overnight because it was film, and had a load of these images, and rang up newspapers and things, and the next day I had it in the Sun, full page in Bazaar column done by Piers Morgan at the time, when he used to write the Bazaar column, and it said disgraceful. And that's like a shop window, if you have the pictures in the Sun, like full page like that. And then literally being worried about money or worried about getting another job, it went from having no money and stuff to making 10 grand within 2 days, which I bought loads of new equipment with, and getting some commissions. And That's kind of slightly paparazzi, but the next commission I got was from Select magazine to go on tour with U2. So,
very good. Throughout your career, would you say you would change anything?
yes,
And what?
I wouldn't have got married. And it sounds terrible, but it held me back a lot because I had some incredible opportunities. There was a thing which I didn't take up because when you get married and you're young, you do what your other half says, because I mean obviously you do, that's what my parents did. But in this industry that can be really difficult unless you've got a very understanding partner. And she wasn't. And so I had an opportunity where Kodak were doing a thing called, was it Rock? Oh, I can't remember. It was held in Las Vegas. You can look for this and Google it. And it's Rock Exposed Tour by Kodak. And it was done in the Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas. And it was the 500 greatest photographs ever taken in rock and roll. And the 100 greatest photographers. Therefore, you'd have some photographers, 100 that have ever lived in music, doing music kind of stuff. So you'd have some photographers that had one picture in, some pictures people had 20. Anyway, I started putting in my portfolio and what I'd done. In the end, I had 25 pictures in there. And on the poster for the biggest show, photographic show ever, it said the 500 greatest photographers in the world, including David LaChapelle, including David LaChapelle, Mick Hutson and Rankin. And they were the publicity posters for it. So I immediately had an agent ring up from America saying they wanted me to go out there, do Good Morning America, do all these kind of TV programs. And my ex-wife decided that wasn't a very good idea. And that if they wanted me, I could do it from London. So I passed the opportunity and didn't get my American agent. And I should have. So that would have been the biggest break of my career.
Okay. Since then, what would you say was your most famous photograph?
I don't know. Some people like other things for other things. There are Marilyn Manson pictures which were in sociology textbooks. One was like with him unsafe on his chest. But I'd say some of my favourite pictures, I've always included Marilyn Manson for some reason because he's a good friend. And like again, when I say a picture isn't taken, it's given, he will give you a great photograph if he's working with you and create some amazing stuff with that. But Ozzy's always been really good to me. And my favourite photograph is possibly one of three. It's either Lemmy, Marilyn or Ozzy. Okay.
And what advice would you give to newcomers in the industry? So amateurs shooting location or studio photo shoots or live gigs, what would you suggest?
Location. Studio, anyone can do it. And you have to be really good to do a good studio picture. To make a picture in the studio stand out from anybody else's studio picture, you have to be really, really good. Really good. Better than you possibly think you have to be. I mean, it really is a difficult art to do it properly, to do it differently, to make it get yourself noticed. Live photography, nowadays with digital cameras, doesn't matter. It used to be difficult. You used to be able to make your name in live photography because you were shooting on transparency film, which you had a third of a stop latitude. So you had to get it right, and you only had 36 shots in a roll, so you get 2.5 rolls. So you're thinking about that, you know, it's less than 100 pictures in a whole gig, and you still had to get the same amount of publication out of those pictures, so you had to really know what you were doing. And the studio side, so I say location, because if you've got a mind, you've got an artistic temperament, and you can see photographs, you can create something in location that looks quite outstanding. And if you did that, then you're more likely to get noticed.
Okay. Final question, would you say there was a key or a recipe or certain things you had to do in your career to become successful?
Yeah. Um, you have to get yourself noticed in a certain way. You can do that by being a really nice guy, or you can do that by being really, really amazingly good at what you do, or you can do that by being completely off the wall and people just want to work with you because you're nuts.
And what would you say the best way to get noticed is?
Well, it changes. I think nowadays people are looking for efficiency because they've lost the, no, it's going to sound really boring now, really, but I think people have lost the passion because there's no excitement anymore because people sit in their bedrooms doing their pictures, whereas people used to, photographers, sit in their bedrooms doing pictures. I say bedrooms, it could be the studio, it could be the office, but it used to be that photographers gathered in certain areas, which were generally where you got your stuff processed. And you would have an influx of ideas, you would meet different people, different photographers, you would work, not together, but you'd be surrounded by these influx of ideas. You'd look at the light box, you see their pictures, nobody's hiding behind the screen, seeing their own stuff, you see everybody else's. So you'd find you'd gather around areas in London where the processing houses were, and you'd meet lots of other photographers there. So things have changed slightly with regard to how you would get yourself noticed, because you're not being noticed, you're just stuck in an office. Look, I mean, you take photographs when you're out and then you spend the rest of the time inside. It's not how it used to be.
So how would you get major publications to see your work?
Websites are a good way, but you have to direct them to it. Nowadays you have to keep on sending in a volume of work, but don't send something in that you don't think is equivalent to what's already in the magazine. Because you've already, as soon as you do that, you have already underlined the fact forevermore that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be. It doesn't mean that you're not going to suddenly, not suddenly, but over a period of time become this brilliant photographer that is doing something different and that people want to use you and things, but it will, don't give them anything that you don't think. You have to really look at magazines. One of the best to understand this, one of the best things, say you want to work for a certain magazine, X magazine, for instance, then get all the types of magazines that are like X magazine, look and go out in W.H. Smith's. I mean, I used to go and spread them all out on the floor in W.H. Smith's until I got chucked out. But what you do is you buy them all, take them all home, rip off the front covers and rip off the double page spreads and the middle, put them all on the ground and look at them. And if you look at all these different magazines with this type of photography in it, you'll see the standard, you'll see the style, and you'll see the way they want to capture that picture. If you do that, then you'll have a pretty good idea about what they want. So then, over the course of the next thing, if you're creating sets of pictures to send in, make sure your set of pictures that you're sending in is A, equivalent to, and B, not different, but looks the same as these others. The same kind of style, because that's what they're putting in the magazine, because that's what they want. If you try and go at somebody with something really different, strangely, they're not going to use you, unless it's completely off the wall brilliant. But if it's as good as, and maybe it has a slightly different edge, but it's as good as, and you're new, then they'll use you.